Symfonos 2 is the second intentionally vulnerable VM in the series. Just like the previous one, the objective is to gain root access and capture the flag file. Let's get to work. So first, let's import this file. Double-click the OVF. I'm going to name that Symfonos 2. Click Import. Once the import is complete, start it up and switch over to Kali Linux. Same as always, open up a terminal, netdiscover-i eth1. Let's find that IP address. Now that we have the IP, let's move on to port scanning and service enumeration. So nmap-a, same as always. We have FTP over port 21, SSH over port 22, HTTP over port 80, and Samba over ports 139 and 445. Being that we found some interesting data in Samba during the first Symfonos challenge, let's check that out first. So I'm just going to clear this out. Enum for Linux and the IP address of Symfonos 2. Okay, starting from the top, got the version here of Samba. All right, I see that we have access to the anonymous share again. We're going to check that out. And we do not have any users enumerated here. All right. Just let that finish. Okay, actually, I do have two users here, Eolus and Cronus. So let's just document that. We have these two users, and we're able to connect to the anonymous share. I'm just going to clear that out for now. We have SMB client and the IP address Symfonos 2 / anonymous. No password needed, just hit enter. Okay, I see a file named backups. So, actually, no, that's a directory. See that D here? So, let's go into that directory. All right, so I see a file named log.txt. So, let's grab that file. Just get log.txt and then exit out. Let's check it out. So, cat log.txt. Oh, it's a little bit bigger than I expected. All right, I'm going to just pipe that to less. So actually less log.txt. Okay. Starting from the top here. Okay, I see this file shadow.back. Let's keep that in mind. Okay, so the only useful information I found so far is that shadow.back file and the fact that we can anonymously log into FTP. We also see this running as the Eolus user. So let's just exit out of that. I'm going to try to FTP into Symfonos 2. So FTP and the IP. And just type in anonymous. And just hit enter. All right. So let's see if we can access any of the system files from here. So I'm just going to type site cpfr etc password. All right. So it says that etc password is accessible. Let me see if I can just download it directly. No, I can't. Okay, so let's instead copy it to the anonymous Samba share. So we have the username Eolus. So let's just run a quick FTP command. Site cp2 home Eolus share password. So we already ran the copy from command etc password. All right, copy successful. So while we're at it, let's try the shadow.back file. So I'm just going to do the same command here, copy from. If you remember, it was var backups shadow.back. Okay, directory file exists. Now we're going to do the same thing, copy to shadow.back. Give you a second to see what I did there. Okay, so what I just did is copy the Etsy password file and the var backups shadow.back file to my anonymous share. So let's go back to Samba and check out the results. Just connecting back to Symfonos 2, the anonymous share. Perfect. All right, those are our two passwords that we wanted. So I'm going to get password, get shadow.back. And now we'll exit out and check those files out real quick. So first one was password. So let's take a look at we have our users here, Iolus and Cronus that we saw earlier. Nothing new in here. Let's see shadow.back. Okay, great. So we have some password hashes here. We have the root password hash, Iolus and Cronus. So let's just grab this entire string here for Iolus. I'm going to copy that. Just exit out. And we're going to create a new file named Iolus. Just paste that string in there. Save it. All right, and we're now going to use John the Ripper to try to crack that hash. So John, specify the file Iolus, word list. We're going to use rocku.txt. There it is. All right, so we have a password here, Sergio Teamo. Let's grab that and try to SSH into Iolus. So just SSH Iolus at IP address of Symfonos 2. Yes, when prompted. And I'm going to try the password that we just recovered with John the Ripper. Very good. Now we're in. Just going to clear that out. All right, let's see what pseudo privileges we have. None. All right, so let's enumerate this box. Let's see if we can find anything interesting with this script I have, Linux enum.sh. So I have it already installed here. Well, I downloaded it already in this Kali VM that I provided with the course. If you do not have my VM and you're using your own, just Google Linux enum and get it from GitHub. It's pretty simple. So here it is. I put it in my var www HTML directory. So I'm just going to use Apache 2, start that, and wget it from Symfonos. So let's just wget IP address of Kali Linux. If you're not sure what your IP address is, you can run the ifconfig command on your Kali Linux box. There it is under ETH1. That's your host-only interface. And the name of the file was linuxenum.sh. No, linenum.sh. Sorry about that. So let's just use the correct name of the file. There we go. So we've downloaded it to Symfonos. And now we are going to run linenum.sh. Start at the top here. Let it run. Just scrolling through until I find some potentially useful information. There's a lot of stuff to look through here. So when you're enumerating, you have to sift through a lot of information till you find something that's useful potentially. Okay, here we go. I see something here. Port 8080. There's a service listening on that port. I did not see that in the nmap command results, so that is potentially useful. All right. I also see 3306. That's MySQL's default port. And see, I see port 25 as well. Let's keep moving. Just document that information. Okay. So binary permissions. You want to look at that. Okay, SUID files. You definitely want to look at that. Those are files that can be run as root. Nothing particularly interesting here. Okay. I see a password.back file that I cannot access because it's owned by root. I see the shadow.back file that we already have. All right. So we didn't see port 8080 in the nmap scan. Let's open up a browser to check if we can access this port. So I'm just going to minimize this and open up a web browser real quick. I'm going to type in that IP address for Symfonos 2 and specify port 8080. Unable to connect. So I guess it isn't public facing. We need to figure out a way to access that port. It's probably an internal service that's not accessible remotely. So what we can do is connect an SSH tunnel over port 8080 so that we can access the service over port 8080. So let's just cancel out of this. What we want to do is just exit out of this SSH. Type in SSH-L 8080 localhost 8080 Eolus and the IP address of Symfonos 2. Just grab that password real quick. Okay, now let's try to access that port. All right, so we can't use this IP address anymore. We have to use the loopback address because we have that SSH tunnel. Okay, now we can access the service. Some Libri NMS login page. So let's just try the same credentials we have for SSH. So Eolus Sergio Te Amo. All right, good, we're in. So let's poke around real quick, see if there's anything we can use here to escalate privileges or do anything, see if we find any useful information or functionality here. Yeah, for this, I'd probably want to use Burp Suite. So yeah, first of all, I want to see if there's anything directly exploitable here based on Libri NMS, because I'm not familiar with it. So I'm just going to go over to Google and I'm going to search for any publicly known exploits for it. So a lot easier than looking around in here and trying to exploit it manually. First, I'll try the easy route. Okay, so let's just open up another tab and Google Libri NMS exploit. Okay, I see a couple here. We see some Metasploit exploit modules. Let's just click on this Rapid7. It'll give us the exact exploit module that we can use here. So let's try this one out. Looks promising. Yep. Command injection. That's what we want. So let's go over here to our terminal. Type in MSF console. We're going to start up Metasploit and try this exploit out. Okay, so I'm just going to paste what we just found there in Rapid7 using that command injection for Libre NMS. And I'm going to set our hosts to localhost because remember, we're still using that SSH tunnel over 8080, so that's going to connect to that service. So we're going to set the username. We have Yolis. Set the password to Sergio Te Amo. Set the L host to ETH1. And this should, if successful, get us a shell. So let's just press run, see if it works. Okay, I see what I missed here. I actually did not set the R port. So let's just see real quick what the options are. As you can see here, the R port is set to 80 by default. So you got to pay very close attention to your configuration here. Otherwise, it will not work and you'll get what you just saw on my screen. So we're going to set the correct R port now and press run. All right, now it's working. So it looks like the exploit worked and we have a command shell opened. So let's list out these sessions that we have here. All right. So just going to interact with session 1. All right. So as you can see here, we have established a shell here under the user Cronus. Okay, let's give ourselves a TTY shell with this simple Python code here. And now let's see if we have any sudo privileges. So sudo -l. Okay, very good. We can run MySQL as root with no password required. So privilege escalation here is going to be very easy. All we have to do is use a well-known method to break out of restricted terminals. Knowing that we have sudo access to MySQL, this will elevate our privileges to root. So just type in sudo MySQL -e single quote / exclamation point. It's going to make a literal exclamation point space /bin /sh closing single quote. Very good. Here we are. We have root privileges now, and I will go to the root folder for our flag. Oops. There we go. So we have rooted Symfonos 2, and now we can move on to Symfonos 3.